Hi, I'm Jim DeCola, Master Luthier for Gibson Guitars. I'm going to show you how to clean, oil, and condition your guitar's fingerboard. Cleaning, oil, and conditioning your guitar's fingerboard is very important. For one, it'll make your guitar just look and feel better. Having that oil in the fingerboard replenished will make it play like butter. It'll give the fingerboard a rich, deep tone in the wood. And it'll also make the guitar more stable because once that oil is penetrated in the fingerboard, it'll be less likely to expand and contract due to moisture fluctuation, in the event, of climate change and so forth. So the first thing we're going to do is to prepare the guitar for this process. I've already removed the strings, and I've already put low-tack tape on the bridge posts to keep that bridge from moving since there's no string tension. Next, I'm going to protect that body surface. The oil from the process can sometimes make a mess and get on the body. Not terribly damaging, but it's best to protect it if at all possible. I like to use a sheet of leather that I cut out specific for this purpose. If you do it often enough, you may want to do the same. You can also use a rag. You can use paper towels, anything like that to protect the body's surface. Since I do this all the time, I prefer the leather since it's reusable and very robust. I'll also use low-tack tape around that fingerboard, and that will not only keep it in place, but it will prevent debris and so forth from getting under this mask. And again, keep that body surface clean and protected. Next, I'm going to use fingerboard oil. Here, I'm using Gibson fretboard conditioner. This is available at many music stores. It's a type of lemon oil. If your store doesn't carry this, you can also use a lemon oil like you can get at your local hardware store. You can even use mineral oil or even baby oil that you find at the drugstore. They're all mineral oil products. They just have different scents and different viscosities and colorings, but they'll all protect your fingerboard just the same. I like the Gibson lemon oil, fingerboard conditioner because that yellow also helps enhance that color and give it a nice warm tone. When I apply the oil, I like to have a rag specific for that. And I like to keep it in a Ziploc bag. That way it keeps that rag from picking up dust and contamination, which could possibly scratch your fingerboard surface. And I want to apply that oil generously to that rag. So here, you can see me work that into that fingerboard. You can already see how deep and dark that will start to get. You want to apply it generously, but you don't want to be messy. You don't want this, the oil running off the fingerboard onto the neck, but you do want to saturate that fretboard. So apply it a little at a time and re-wet as needed, working it in alongside the frets to fully saturate that fingerboard. And once it's fully saturated the fingerboard to where it's kind of wet laying on top of the fingerboard, I like to let it sit a few minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, just so it penetrates as much as it can. If you do it too quick, it'll sit on top of the surface and then you'll wipe it dry and it really hasn't penetrated and really done the work that it needs to do. So keep it on there so it's fully moist and allow it to sit, maybe up to 5 minutes to fully penetrate into that fingerboard. If your fretboard is especially dirty, over time, from playing, you can pick up a lot of gunk and funk that will sit in that fingerboard. You can use a toothbrush, an ordinary toothbrush, and work that oil in. And you can re-wet the brush as needed, and then just scrub alongside the frets, and the bristles from that brush will get up next to that fret wire and remove any gunk. And once you treat the entire fingerboard to that process, then you can come back kind of with the grain and work it back in. But you can see how I'll get on one side and then rotate on the other side of that fret and repeat. That'll make sure all that dirt and funk that has penetrated the grain and inside the crevices of the fret wire is removed. Another tip, if your fingerboard, again, is gunky with that stuff, in addition to the toothbrush, you can also use a synthetic steel wool. In this case, I'm using a white Scotch-Brite pad. It's equivalent to the 4/0 or 4/0 steel wool, but it's far less messy. So again, I like to put the oil on the Scotch-Brite and work it in. And now here you don't have to put as much. You can see it lays on wetter because it's not being absorbed into that rag like a polishing cloth. And you can scrub that fingerboard. That'll remove all that debris in the fingerboard, and it'll polish up your fret wire. So if you go in the grain direction lengthwise, that's recommended. However, you may have instances where you kind of have to go against the grain to pull out some of that dirt, but then follow it up going with the grain direction. That'll ensure that you don't have any cross-grain scratches in the fingerboard. It's very fine and unlikely that it will leave objectionable scratches, but it's just good, safe practice. Once you're done cleaning and polishing with that Scotch-Brite, again, just like oiling it with the rag, let it sit for a few minutes. And after that, then you can wipe it clean with a dry rag. Again, keep it in a Ziploc bag. That'll make sure that it doesn't pick up any dust or debris or anything that could scratch your fingerboard or your guitar. So here, you can see that the oil's been sitting on this fingerboard for several minutes. So it's penetrated about as much as it will. That means the job is done. Now, I'm going to use a clean rag, and I'm going to wipe off all the remaining fingerboard oil that's sitting on the surface. And again, I'll try to wipe alongside the fret wire to make sure there's no puddling or standing oil, so it doesn't create a mess. You want to wipe it dry, and you'll see that it's a much deeper, richer shade of rosewood from what it looked like previously. After that, we can remove the mask. Clean up any residue along the side of the fingerboard. And now it's ready for restringing. You can see that how deep and rich the rosewood looks compared to how it was before. So again, the guitar will play a lot smoother and more effortlessly, and it will be more stable because of that oil stabilizing the wood. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the next episode of Gibson's Guide to Guitar Setup and Maintenance.